So, The Furious was directed by Kenji Tanigaki, and if I'm mispronouncing your name, I do apologize. And it's a movie about this mute man. He has a daughter, his daughter is kidnapped, and he tries to find her. And he teams up with a journalist who's trying to uncover a conspiracy involving the people who kidnapped the man's daughter. So, this is a movie that I saw a trailer for a while back, and it was like, okay, that looks like it could be kind of cool, kind of like an Eastern version of something like, say, John Wick, or something like along the lines of The Raid. And I was really surprised, or really happy to see that this was a mystery movie a few days ago. So I actually got to see it early. The movie doesn't open until June 12th. So I will say this, if you're an action fan, you definitely should see this movie. This movie is absolutely insane. It's crazy. It's nonstop. It is a movie that, if you're an action junkie, you're going to really enjoy this movie. Because, first off, pretty much all the action in this movie is incredible. Like, pretty much every shot, every action moment in this movie is incredible to behold. There were so many moments where I was watching this movie and my mouth was just dropping because I was like paying attention to like all the action that was going on. Is like, whoa, like I can't believe you're actually going as far as you are with this action. And it is just crazy. It's nonstop. And it's just each sequence kind of just builds on each other. Like at first it's like, okay, this could be kind of cool. And then eventually a lot of stuff happens like, okay, that was really cool. And like for a good majority of the movie, there's like some sequences where it kind of does feel like it's like the last sequence of a movie, but then it's just like, oh no, it doesn't. Because like the majority of the action feels like it's like the big climactic moment. I feel like every moment of this movie is like a big climactic action sequence. Like there's one involving like a building, and it definitely feels like it's the end of the movie, but it's actually not the end of the movie. It's like, oh well, this is going to be disappointing if it's going to be uh taking place in just this one location at the end. But no, they even top that sequence. It was like pretty much every moment of this movie is kind of one of those things where you're just saying, holy effing S and all that. And it's just one of those movies that's just so nonstop and actually just a lot of fun. And I would say that the performances are also really solid. The actor who plays the mute man I thought was really good. Joe Tasman, who was in the Raid movies, he's also in this movie, and he also does a pretty good job. The villains themselves are okay, but I feel like this movie is mostly a showcase for all the action sequences rather than any acting talent. The movie overall does blend a lot of different types of movies. Like at times it's a buddy movie, at times it's an action movie, at times it's a horror movie, it's a thriller movie. It's kind of like blending everything very well. And it's just like one moment it's like you're thinking it's like, okay, this is what this movie's going to be like, and then next moment it's like, okay, this is what the movie's actually doing right now. It's like it actually does work overall. Normally I would hate that, as like you can't decide what it is, but it does blend things very well. This movie is a very fun time overall. It's very unpredictable, but it still just keeps the momentum going. This movie is just a blast from beginning to end, and definitely worth watching, especially if you're a fan of action movies. But let's talk about a couple of things I wasn't too big of a fan of. First off, there are some cliches in this movie that kind of just bothered me. Like, there's one towards the end of the movie that I felt was just completely pointless because they just negate it by the very end of the movie. It's like, why did you have this moment? Oh, for this cliche, and it's just annoying. Like like if Hot Fuzz made fun of it like 20 years ago, it's definitely not worth it. I would say the movie has a very thin story overall. Now, again, as I mentioned, this movie is mostly a showcase just for the action, and I think that's and for action fans, I think that's okay. But this movie definitely has a very thin story. Like it has very basic villains and such. And I would definitely say that this movie, if you're like, obviously, I wasn't going to this movie expecting like the best screenplay out there. And normally, I would say for a movie that is trying to showcase something else rather than a decent story, is like I try to give it a pass because like that wasn't their goal. But like these characters are super thin. Even the main villain by the end, he just wasn't that interesting. And also, this may be a nitpick of mine, but I definitely wish that this movie had more long takes. Like, I want to see all these action scenes kind of just unfold, and while the editing is decent, there are moments in this movie where I'm like, I can only imagine what this scene would be like if they shot this in a long take. Like, that would actually be really impressive if you did all this in just one shot. And that would be really cool. Also, what kind of annoyed me with this movie, so I kind of was under the impression by the trailer that it was going to be like in a different language other than English. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I thought at first that there was a lot of dubbing in English, and I was like, oh no, you're not doing this. You are not doing a dubbed movie. But thankfully they don't. But again, it kind of goes back to the story itself. Is like the story itself is not very strong, but also a lot of dialogue is not strong either. But again, that it's a movie that I feel like is not really trying to focus on dialogue. It's not trying to focus on the script and such. It's mostly just trying to focus on the action. There's a very thin story, as I mentioned. And again, I was okay with it because I kind of forgot most of the story while I was watching it because a lot of the action is just mind blowing and insane and just completely over the top, but definitely worth seeing. If you get a chance to see this movie on a big screen, I definitely would recommend it because it's one of those movies that you kind of need to see to believe because a lot of the scenes are just absolutely crazy and definitely very creative. So the Furious, the action is nonstop. It continues to top itself throughout the entire movie. There are some good moments. There are some decent performances. Mainly the two leads I thought were decent. There are fun performances overall. It's a fun time overall. It does blend everything very well. It is a very unpredictable movie, but I would say the cliches were kind of obvious. The story and dialogue is very thin, and also I felt like the dubbing was kind of off. And I wish more of a nitpick that it had more long takes rather than just cut around the action. But it's still a lot of fun. If you're an action fan, I would definitely check this movie when it opens up next week. Hopefully, it does get to an area near you. I will get The Furious 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what is your favorite non-stop action movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.